Modern JavaScript has two ways for declaring variables, and in addition to discussing the technical differences between let versus const, we will also look at the things that are common between these two ways. So let's go. The first way to declare a variable within JavaScript is with the let keyword. We write the let keyword followed by the variable name with an optional assignment that we want for this variable. The main advantage of using variables is that they allow you to use the same value again and again without having to type that out. So when we log out example, we don't have to type out hello world again and again because that is the value that is contained within the example variable. A feature offered by the let variable is that we can assign it a new value if we want to. For example, we can assign it a different string, and now when we log it out, we get the new string. And it doesn't even have to be a string, it can be any other value that we want. For example, it could be a number, and now when we log it out, we get this new number. A key feature of creating a variable with let is that initialization is optional. What this means is that we can create a variable with let and not assign it any value. Now at this point, if we try to use this variable, we get that special type that we talked about, which is undefined, which is the value that the JavaScript runtime returns if a variable has not been initialized. Of course, at any point after we have done an assignment, the variable will contain the value that we assigned. The other way to create variables within JavaScript is with the const keyword, and as we look at the differences between let and const, you will find them to be quite intuitive. Here we are defining a variable called message with the const keyword and assigning it an initial value of the hello world string. Now, of course, the advantage of using a variable is that we can use the variable without having to type that value again and again. That value is what the variable will return. Now at this point, this looks very similar to a let keyword, so let's discuss the differences between let and const. Now with the let keyword, we do not have to provide an initialization because of course the let keyword allows us to reassign that variable at any point that we please. With the const, we must provide an initial value. If we do not provide a value, the JavaScript runtime will throw an error, and if uncaught, our program will exit. Now the reason why we must provide a value when we declare a const variable is because of the other restriction that exists on const. That is, once we have declared them, we cannot assign them a different value. The restriction that we must provide an initial value and that we cannot assign a different value once it has been initialized are the differences between let and const. A key feature of these JavaScript variables is that they prevent silly mistakes, for example, trying to use a variable before it is declared or trying to declare another variable with the same name. Let's declare a simple variable called example. Now, if we try to use this variable before it has been declared, the JavaScript runtime will throw an error that this variable is being used before it's been declared. Any portion of our code where a particular variable declaration is not valid, for example, the section before the variable declaration, is what fancy JavaScript engineers might call a temporal dead zone, where temporal is basically for time. That is, in a matter of time, this code is going to execute before the code to execute the variable declaration. Now, another silly mistake that is prevented by these variables is trying to declare them again. This is primarily a programmer error in larger code bases where we do not realize that this variable has already been declared and we should use a different name in order to not conflict with the existing code. Modern JavaScript variables are lexically scoped to the code block that they are declared in, which means that there are less chances of name collisions and unexpected variable values. Now we will look at various code blocks like if, else, functions, for loops in future lessons, but the fundamental thing that is common between them is the presence of parentheses. So we can actually use parentheses by themselves to create a very simple code block. Of course, since the message variable is declared within this code block, it is available within this code block, so we can safely log out its value. Now this variable will actually not exist outside of this code block, which means that if we create another code block, we can use the same variable name and provide it a different value, and everything will be perfectly fine. However, outside of this code block or in another code block, this variable will not exist, and if we try to use it, the JavaScript runtime will throw an error. As you can see, modern JavaScript variables are quite well controlled to prevent silly mistakes. And to recap let versus const, if you plan on reassigning a variable, use let, otherwise use const. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you in the next one.